guest in this segment on this snowy Monday where pretty much everything is closed is Senate President Craig Blair. Good morning, Craig. How are you?
Good morning. Everything's closed in Charleston, too.
Yes. Hey, how many more days do we get to call you Senate President? When does that officially expire? We're down to it now, aren't we?
It'll expire right around noon on Wednesday. So, but my last day will be tomorrow.
Did you know that this winter storm is named after you? It's Winter Storm Blair?
Oh, my golly. First of all, I didn't know they named Winter Storm.
I didn't either. I just saw it on the news this morning.
Yeah. And so that's one, but I've got friends that have been tormenting me all weekend long about this. And it's sort of funny.
I think it's a great marketing gig. If you can share with me how you do that, that would be great.
Yeah. Have the last name Blair. But hey, John, I think that you might be a long-time seniors. First of all, winter storms don't normally get to the, 10 of them in a year. And where's G fall in that on that market? It's not quite 10, but you know where I'm going.
Winter Storm Gilstrap would be a little on the nose, I think. That would be
7, by the way. That'd be 7 storms. Yeah. Craig, you seem rather amusing and light and fluffy here this morning. Sounds like you're handling the release of the presidency quite well.
Oh, look, it's public service, and I think I am. It's when one door closes, another door opens, and that's exactly what's happening here on this. And you know what? I wrote an op-ed and put it out a couple days ago, and it's probably going to get picked up everywhere. But it's been an amazing run. For a guy that used to ride around and in the Eastern Panhandle and doing water treatment, and then to go to the House of Delegates, to the Senate, to the Senate President, Lieutenant Governor, and look at the changes that we've done in West Virginia. I got to preside over West Virginia during its most prosperous period in time. And a lot of it had to do with the work that I actually put in place, like the flatline budgets and things like that, fixing workers' comp. Oh, my golly, all those things that we've done. So my track record's good. It's time for fresh blood to get in and hopefully do better than the generation of people represented this from before.
Craig, you and I have known each other for over 25 years. I've heard you call a lot of things, some very, very flattering, some probably less so, but never have I heard you call light and fluffy. How do you react to that?
I don't.
Fluffily.
The tape recorder is running.
In fact, I think it's the first time I've ever heard Craig without words, but light and fluffy Craig is.
Like scrambled eggs.
Yeah. Well, I've been called a lot of things over the years, that's for sure.
Tell us about your next job, Craig.
My next job will be I've created a consulting firm for both political and business consulting that's called Experience Matters. And then I've actually partnered with another consulting firm, the LNE Group. They're based out of West Virginia, Ohio, Washington, D.C., and Germany. I'll be working out of West Virginia and some Washington, D.C. is my understanding. And so we'll have a partnership with that. I will also, by having my own organization as well, I'll be able to, for instance, if the Senate would want me to consult with them or the governor's office or the House or PIA, whatever, that I could go in and give them perspectives on how to get things done. That's one of the things I'm actually very good at. So there'll be an advantage to that. PEIA, that board over there doesn't necessarily do the wrong things, but how they come out by doing it is very, very poor. They don't understand the legislative process. They just work from the numbers. Sometimes you've got to go outside that scope and understand who you're dealing with, whether it's the public or whether it's the legislature or whoever, and be able to make those right decisions. That's one of the things I'm good at. So,
Do you have to wait a year to work with state government in any capacity?
no. The only thing I cannot lobby for a year, and I have no interest in lobbying to begin with. If I want to lobby, I'll hire somebody to do the lobbying. I won't be doing that.
What's the difference between consulting and lobbying?
Well, for instance, consulting is I sit back and I tell lobbyists what to do, or I tell clients this is what's best for them, or how to get whatever it is that they're wanting to get completed, how to get there and get it done. And then sometimes I just have to tell people, no, can't do it that way, and here's why, so that they got an understanding, and then they do not waste time and resources trying to get something accomplished. So that puts it sort of in a nutshell. For me working for the L&E group, one of their main reasons is my contacts. They want to be able to grow their client base and the portfolio for that, and I will open doors for them and never ever once have to ask a legislator to vote for one thing or another. It's by bringing clients in.
Mr. Gilstrap.
So what is the difference between the work that you're doing with is it L-N-E like Nancy or M as in Michael?
Nancy. L-N-E.
So the L&E group, the difference between that and the Experience Matters group?
Well, the Experience Matters is mine. And I'll have to be honest with you. If somebody's writing me a paycheck, I want to remind them why they're doing it. And every time they stroke that out, they say Experience Matters LLC on there. That tells them why you're doing this. And at the point in time that it is not effective, then I probably don't need to be doing this job any longer. But I figured that I've got 10 more good years in my life of being able to work. At least I hope so. And again, you heard me say earlier that I'm very, very proud of the accomplishments we've had. I would love to be able to continue having positive influence in West Virginia. And businesses is where it's at. When businesses are profitable, growing and expanding in the state of West Virginia, that means our families, our children, our education systems, everything about the state is working as well. I'll tell you, the state had it backwards for years. We dumped money into everything and then turned our backs on business and just taxed them to death. And that made it so that you kept having a diminishing tax base. And that put a greater demand on both business and our people to be able to take care of the functions of government, like the infrastructures. And we changed that whole dynamic here really in the last 10 years on thinking it like a business and running our state like a business at the speed of business.
Do you think
I'm proud of it.
Your skill set is applicable? Is it very West Virginia centric, or is it applicable to Oklahoma and Canada?
One of the things that you ask about Experience Matters, I will have the flexibility of being able to go to other states and sit down with them and explain to them how a flatline budget works and the results from it. You know, people talk about the flatline budget and how that we artificially kept the revenue numbers down. Yes, that's true. And what happened is that when you squeeze different agencies, then it starts to make problems that have been laying low. It makes them fester up so that you can see them, and then it forces the legislature and the leadership of that legislature to go address those problems, and to a greater degree to bring the state up to something that you were doing in the 1950s, and it's 80 years later, you need to be doing something different. and to more efficiently. And maybe you shouldn't even be doing it at all. That is what the benefit of the flatline budget provides to you.
Craig, first, you did a great job as president of the Senate, and even though you and I have not agreed on everything, I do admire what you've done, and I admire your accomplishments. So well done, and thanks for serving us all. I have a question, though. Governor-elect Marcy this past week disclosed his list of cabinet appointees. I was struck by two things. One, with the exception of Eric Householder, who was Secretary of the Administration, there were no one from the Eastern Panhandle on his cabinet. Question is, does that surprise you? Second question is, what does the Secretary of the Administration do?
All right. Your first question, I'm not bothered by the answer.
Okay.
To start with is that, I don't want to be an armchair quarterback. None of us should be. The governor should be given the flexibility to make the decisions that he feels that is best for the state of West Virginia and for the administration. He's only picked 2 cabinet secretaries so far to begin with, Eric Nelson and Eric Householder. Also, both of those 2 names are the common denominators. And whenever I created that flatline budget, Eric Nelson was the finance chair in the House. And I had to convince him to be able to go along with that. And then when Eric went to the Senate, Eric Householder became the finance chairman, and we carried on with that flatline budget. And then it was Eric Householder and Eric Tarr whenever I become Senate president. I love telling that story. That's why I put that out there. Now, the Secretary of Administration, they have so many things underneath of them. It's sort of a catch-all, but they take care of the Capitol. The brim is underneath that. There are so many things that is underneath the Secretary of Administration. In fact, I can't name them all to you right now. I'd have to go get a list. And, in fact, if you want me to, I'll get a list for you on what's done. That's a question you should ask Eric Householder.
And I think we will when Eric comes on. It'd be a good, legitimate question, and I have absolutely no doubt, but it's going to be a meaningful, fruitful job, and Eric's up to it. He's done a great job, I think, as a delegate.
By the way, Eric is on tomorrow at 9:05.
Yeah, hit him up for it. And the fact that you're asking me this question today, he'll get ready and provide the list for you. There's like 20 different things. There are a lot of things that's been shoehorned into that, and it makes sense in some cases once you get to hearing that. I've heard people talk about wanting to break it up over the years, and I question whether that is actually necessary or not. And Mark Scott did a good job before he got in trouble. But you call him up, you needed something done or you needed information. He was very good at that, and I anticipate Eric Householder will be the same way.
The revenue numbers for the month of December, Craig, how did those turn out?
I was wondering whether we were going to get to that or not.
Oh, yeah. Final chance to ask you about these.
Okay, well, it's going to be the final time I give the revenue numbers. We're halfway through the fiscal year now, and for the month of December, we finished up $36.5 million above our revenue estimates. For the year, we're almost $42 million above the revenue estimates for the year. So that's all looking pretty good. Personal income tax for the month of December, we were over by about $11.5 million. But for the year, we're down about almost $14 million. We're below the revenue estimates. Nothing too concerning there. Severance tax. For the month, we were below the revenue estimates, just under $5 million. For the year, it's almost $32 million below the revenue estimates. That one is directly because of lower energy prices and less consumption on coal. So that puts a burden on our state for that. When it comes to the consumer use and sales tax, we were almost $3 million it's 2.9 million above revenue estimates, and for the year, it's about $2 million above for revenue estimates. We're doing okay. The second half of the year, we always do better than the first half of the year on our revenues. The lottery, it appears that we were about $11 million above the revenue estimates for that. We're holding just about flat for the year. Road fund is just a little bit under for the year at this point in time. Rainy day fund. The rainy day fund has $1.3 billion in it. It's actually $1,315,000,000, and that is $115 million more than what it was the same time last year. That's because of the investments, and the listeners probably don't remember this, but in our last special session, we actually capped the rainy day fund and didn't put any more money in there. And then we also have a personal income tax reserve fund that has $460 million sitting in it also. There's about $2 billion that is squirreled away in our state government right now for if times do get tough. The Democrats used to store money in what was called ghost employees, where they'd have way more employees and they'd build that into the budgets. And then that money would be sitting there and not used, and they could go in there and sweep those accounts if things got tight. The way we go by doing it now is a lot more efficient of what's going on. So there's the numbers.
Are the numbers at the point, Craig, where the state income tax cuts have been such that we are kind of reaching our level and we need time for growth now to catch up for the next trigger to be hit?
Yes. I do not anticipate seeing an income tax trigger hit anytime for the next 2 or 3 years. If we do, we're going to be in a tremendous growth period and inflationary period to go along with that. So I think things are going to stay where they're at. And this is something I hope Governor Morrissey has been talking about, that, you know, he wants to go out and find efficiencies in government. And as a taxpayer, and I want to see the same thing happen. There's still a lot of efficiencies to be had, but it takes being able to reinvest in yourself. It takes being able to look at how to do things and say, wait a minute, government might not want to be doing this, and that frees up $20 million a year out of the base build. There are things in government that still need to be done, and that's I'm talking a lot about the flatline budget. But the fact is that is what has put us on the path of being able to have the revenues over these last 5 years. And so I'm extremely proud of that. And you were asking about Experience Matters. That is something that I really, really want to take on the road to 49 other states, because just saying you want to cut government, when you're trying to do that with legislative bodies, then you've always got constituencies that don't want to do that. And so when you allow it to, you squeeze it out of the agencies, that gives you an opportunity to really, really control the government. And that's what we've done for the past, actually 5-6 years. Whenever I became the finance chairman, I sold this idea. It's really worked.
Yeah, Craig, you use the term efficiency in government. That's certainly Governor-elect Marcy is going to a major thrust. I would wager, though, that probably 85 to 90% of all candidates use efficiency in government as one of the platforms. Why do you think this will be different now than what we've seen in the past about making our government more efficient?
Because the roadmap is in place. The roadmap is there from Governor Morrissey to be able to see what Jim Justice, Craig Blair, and the Erics have done to be able to make it so that we can actually do better and for this. Now you got a fresh set of eyes and new people coming in. And this is the best part of it. They see things and say, would have, should have, could have, and deploy. And sometimes it doesn't work, but lots of times it does. And knowing that building on the foundations that's been laid before you, to be able to go in and do these things is the smart way of doing it. Now, if you're going to go in and tear everything down and start over again, that's a recipe for disaster, especially when it's undeniable. In the last 4 or 5 years, it's been the most prosperous time in West Virginia's history, bar none.
Hey, Greg,
And Morrissey's a smart man. He will build on the foundations. I'm certain of it.
so as you transition out of with the Senate and President of the Senate, is there a formal ceremony? Excuse me, formal ceremony of any kind to transition from one Senate president to the next, or is it just sort of evolve?
Oh yeah, there's a formal. It's when the president gets sworn in to vote at noon on Wednesday. The body will meet, and they'll all get sworn in, and then they will elect their Senate president. And whenever I went through that process twice, because it's every 2 years, and I went through both times I was elected.
We're starting to lose your cell there, Craig. Are you in a funky area?
I'm sorry.
Oh, wherever you are now is great. Yeah, well, you're great where you are.
Okay.
And now you're not.
I'm not?
Yeah, you just faded again.
Okay, I'm standing by a window right now, so I should be good.
Oh, you're great
but it's
now.
by acclamation.
So, and have you had a transition meeting with Randy about?
Oh yes, we've talked several times about different things, and I've offered up to him that after I'm going and he's in, that I'd be more than happy to come and sit with him and tell him some of the things that's going on. And because it is a transition. There are things in the pipeline, like the $100 billion of investment that we were coming close to doing is the day before interims in December. Yeah, $100 billion, that's a lot of investment. And we do those things, and the new president will need to be brought up to speed on those things. And so and there's a lot of that. And everybody forgets that, we've got I manage almost 100 employees down here. And so all that's a whole nother part of the operation that nobody takes into account on what's going on. And I got a lot of lip from people saying that, well, I'm down in Charleston all the time. You're absolutely right. And the reason for it is that if you're not down here managing the employees and the economic development and all the different things that need to be done, then nobody is. When you're elected president, that is your job to be able to do that. And I'm counting on Randy to being able to do that as well.
Craig, I want to thank you for your availability over the years. We've done many of these interviews in your various positions, and no matter what was going on or how much the heat was turned up, you always showed up for the interviews. I appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem. It's been an honor and a privilege. And again, I'm excited to be moving forward into the future here and still doing what I wanted to do more than anything, and that is make West Virginia the best place to work, live, play, raise a family. This is a wonderful state, and we've been beaten down for most of my life, and we're finally coming back. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Final time, I'll say the Senate President Craig Blair.